Long-running high school and college sports tradition. It's time to give them the spotlight they deserve. This is 757 Sports Talk. Here are Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
And we're back with you here on Cobra Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. We've got a special guest with us. He is the former head men's basketball coach at UVA, Old Dominion, and American University. We've got some news on the American front, too, as well. And he's here with us to talk about what he's up to these days and also the big news that happened in college basketball this week with Tony Bennett retiring. We're joined by our good friend, Coach Jeff Jones. Coach, good to see you out there. Some big shocking news this week in college basketball. Your alma mater in UVA with Tony Bennett deciding that he's going to hang it up right now. I know it was a surprise to some. How about you? I know you're still close to a lot of people, including Coach Bennett at UVA. What's your reaction to the news that came out?
Well, good morning, guys. Good to see you. I was shocked when I got a couple calls and texts saying that the news was out. I couldn't believe it. To be honest, I had been in Charlottesville last Friday and stopped by and watched practice. Had a chance to visit afterwards with Jason Williford and Ron Sanchez and Tony. It was fun watching the team. You know, they have some work to do, and Tony was coaching them up pretty hard. And we were joking around. He asked me how retirement was. Looking back, I thought about this, and I said, it's retirement life has been pretty good. I don't know if he was asking specifically for his own interest or not, but looking back, that was a pretty interesting question. My initial thoughts, were, well, gosh, I hope that he and his family are healthy and doing well, that it wasn't anything serious along those lines. And obviously that's not the case. And, that they're all well. And that's the big thing. It's an interesting, and it's seemingly, there's the big debate about, why he did it, and, the timing and everything else. And it just brings to mind the old saying, something about criticizing somebody until you've walked a mile in their shoes, just to kind of summarize. And we can't all know everything that's going on in his mind. Clearly, I think it's well known that he was considering stepping away, last spring. Obviously he'd been mulling it over, and, whether it happened, just immediately, on that fall break that he referenced, probably the general public will never know, but, it's, I'm happy for him. If that's what he wants, then I think it's good. I think it's, indicative of his honesty. He didn't want to fake it anymore. I just wish him the best. Obviously, he had a huge impact on the game. Was a great coach. A very nice person. I just hope that he's happy and think about the players. That's got to be. Whether they're transfers or whether they come to UVA as freshmen, a big part of why they came there was Tony Bennett, and so that's got to be a tough blow for them as well. So I hope that everything kind of works out for them. With Ron Sanchez, selfishly, I hope that Jason Williford, might, get the chance to show what he could do in the interim role. Jay Willie's my guy. I love him like a son, and he's been very, very loyal and has done a great job there for Tony. But Ron Sanchez is another friend and another really, really good guy, and I just hope they all do really, really well. It's an unusual situation. The timing's not great for a whole lot of reasons, but that's what they say. You got to make the best of what you're dealt, and so I'm sure that after the initial shock wears off, that's what all of them are going to try to do. One other thing, I talked to Ryan Odom, at VCU the other day, and had even considered going down and maybe watching the scrimmage. This morning, VCU and UVA were supposed to. I don't know if it's still going on. If it is, it's probably going on right now. But they were supposed to do a closed scrimmage. Lots of stuff kind of unknown that all of them are going to have to deal with.
Yeah, for sure. Before I let Ed jump in here, and he's going through the quasi-transition retirement. Will he come coach again? I know you're going through it right now after the great tenure you've had at Old Dominion American and at UVA, where you played, of course. And Tony Bennett, tearful press conference yesterday, saying, when I looked at myself and I realized I'm no longer the best coach to lead this program, if you're going to do it, you've got to be all in. You've got to have everything. And if you do it half-hearted, it's not fair to the university and those young men. And what a career he had, 364, 136 at UVA, that national championship, and what a run in 2019. And I think the first thing that goes through people's minds, Coach, is everything okay health-wise with him? And I know you've gone through some things. People always want to know, how are you doing health-wise? So how are you doing with it and coping with it? Not coaching a team right now, but I'm sure also still very much involved in the game of basketball.
I'm feeling great. My health is good. I'm still trying to be smart. After having the heart attack and having to sit out the remainder of the season, I had to make some changes, and I've kind of stuck with those things. And but the big thing is I'm feeling great. The doctors are happy with what I'm doing right now, and I'm enjoying retirement. It's interesting. I was really worried that I would get bored, but I've found a lot of different things to do. To keep me occupied. I don't want to be too occupied. And in fact, about a week or two ago, I kind of had to check myself because I was saying yes to too many things, and felt my schedule building up, and I didn't want to feel that way. I wanted to do things that I wanted to do, but I didn't want to feel pressure to be on the clock all the time, so to speak. So I've got to learn to say no to some things, but those things that I am really interested in, I want to have the flexibility to commit time to those.
Well, if you need to learn how to say no, just ask Ed, because he tells me no all the time.
Well, first of all, good morning, Jeff. Appreciate you coming on. Our timing was impeccable. We didn't know the Tony Bennett thing was coming up, but if there's anybody we wanted to talk to about it, was you. And I'm listening to you talk on that, and you made an interesting comment when he asked you about retirement. And in a small way, I got to think that maybe that definitely was on his mind. And he knows he's good friends with you. You've been through a lot. And I, too, when I first heard it on my way up here to Pennsylvania, that there was a possibility that Tony Bennett was going to retire, I was like, okay, first thing, health. Thank God that's not the reason.
Correct.
Nothing wrong with the family. It's just that he got to a point, and unfortunately the timing is as bad as can be, but he was being honest that somebody else needs to be in this position. And I think in coaching, all of us at some point may get to that where we feel like, am I really doing the right job? And I know in the high school level, you get so much stuff thrown at you. You got to teach 8 hours during the day, and you got to do so many other duties. And now here comes the coaching. You got to do pretty much everything. You don't have 82 managers and 18 assistant coaches and, personnel staff. And it gets to the point you sometimes wonder if it can go. You obviously had a situation where health came into play. And as everybody says, you got to worry about health too. But were there times before health issues came up in your own career that you actually sometimes sat down there and said to yourself, do I need to keep continuing?
Oh, sure. A bunch of years. I mean, I could go back 20 years. So here's the thing. I think there's probably a lot of coaches that when the season immediately ends, right, you're so beat up and worn down that if you made a decision right then, there might be a lot of coaches that might, think about or actually want to step away or retire immediately after the season. But once you get past that initial, that initial kind of emotional, just worn out feeling, you realize you want to keep going. I think, my wife and I talked about it. I think pretty much every year, and whether you win or whether you lose, in your season, or whether it's a good season or a bad season, I think, I probably went through probably about 2 weeks or so to adjust to the off season, where I was probably depressed. I think, depression, not sad, but just depressed and trying to get back into the flow of a different pace in life. It's absolutely 100% a fact that, over the years, it became more and more and more and more for all college coaches, not just for me or for Tony, but that more responsibilities and more time, and having to deal with more factors, and now more than ever. And I'd say the last 3 years I'd say probably the last 2 years, the things that coaches have to do, and what used to be there used to be a little bit of time in May, a little, maybe a week in June where you could take a little bit of time to get away and spend time with your family and decompress a little bit. That hasn't existed for the last 2 years. You finish your season and you are right smack in the middle of the transfer portal stuff. Now you've got the transfer portal along with the NIL, and this is something that really, really bothers me, is that even with the NIL, if you could talk to the prospects, the transfers, the kids, and their families, at least there could be a little bit of relationship building going on there. So much now, and not necessarily at the ODU level, but at the ACC level for Virginia. I've spent some time recently down in Oxford, Mississippi, with the Ole Miss staff. Places like that. You're dealing with agents. NBA coaches don't have to deal with agents. That's the general managers. That's not the coaching staff. And that's a whole nother thing. So there's 1 week really. If you look into it, the recruiting periods and the dead periods and everything else that's in an NCAA, kind of the annual calendar. There's 1 week in August where coaches don't have to feel guilty or feel like somebody's getting a leg up on them if they take time off to be with their family, and that's just crazy. I think football coaches might have it right, or certainly the head football coaches. If I'm not mistaken, college football coaches, the head coaches, don't leave campus to recruit in the summer or in the month of July. They stay home. At least they're not out there traveling, chasing after. There needs to be something done. And going back a few years, and I apologize if I'm rambling, but going back a few years, when I was still on the executive board of the NABC, the National Association of Basketball Coaches, we spent quite a bit of time debating, and we never could really get to a consensus because, so many schools with so many different agendas and so many different ways of operating at the low major, mid major, and high major levels. We talked a lot. I mean, this is well before NIL and transfer portals now, about the amount of burnout that was going on with college coaches, head and assistant coaches, and the lack of time, and that we had to consider the mental health and the physical well-being of the coaches, because there was a lot of stuff going on that never make the public view, that just wasn't good for the profession. And now it's worse than ever. And people can have different opinions. I'm going to get up on my soapbox a little bit, guys, if you don't mind. But with Tony's announcement and reading articles and I guess probably stupidly reading comments from fans. There's a lot of debate going back and forth. I mean, there's some people that I'm kind of more in line with them that say that Tony, he did the right thing for him, and at some point that's what it comes down to. And I think he was very honest, in his explanation at his press conference. And I think it's fair to disagree, but these folks that are coming out, and I think it's indicative of our country right now about anything, really. It's one thing to disagree, but I've read things, just being really, really, really harsh on Tony for making, the timing was awful, but he did what he thought was best and fairest. When I hear him say, I'm not the right coach or I'm not the best coach, if you think back, Roy Williams said something very, very similar. Not that anybody really paid attention, but at my retirement press conference, I talked about there were parts of the job that I wanted to come back to. It wasn't just like I absolutely never wanted to coach again. I would love to do it, but then there were other parts where I knew that I wouldn't be 100% in it, and to realize that in our world right now, self-awareness is lacking, severely lacking, and to have that amount of self-awareness, as a coach, to say, I some of these things I can't do. I mean, if Tony had continued, I mean, in his mind, he would have been cheating the players in the university, and he's paid extremely, extremely well. He and every coach is always asking, the players, the assistant coaches, everybody to be all in. None of this stuff about dipping your toe in, or and we want everybody to give their all, and be 100% committed to the team and to winning, and and everything that the program stands for. And I think he just saw that he couldn't do it, and in his mind, he was being honest. And I'm saying this, I don't know this. I've not talked to him. I don't have any inside information. But as an outsider, I guess I'm kind of guessing. But he just he couldn't do it, and I'm sure he feels bad about not being with the team. I mean, it's not something that he takes lightly. He knows it's hard, and there's probably some of the players that that don't feel good about this, or the players' parents, that don't feel good that they committed and Tony committed, and they thought that that they would be going through this thing together, and it just didn't work out. But again, I know for a fact he didn't do it lightly. He didn't take it lightly, and he thought that this was the best thing. That he didn't want to cheat the school. He didn't want to cheat the team. And again, people can disagree, but we don't have to be so. We don't have to attack somebody for having a difference of opinion. And that's why, I mean, that's why I think this bothers me more than anything. The timing, the timing was awful. But had he done it last spring, I don't think I would have been shocked. I don't. But it is what it is. I certainly wish the best for Jason, for Ron, for the whole the whole group of everybody down there, the players. and that they can kind of hold things together. And it's one of the things you come together, and it's not like it's us against the world, because it's not the world that put them in that situation, but it is a difficult situation, and the way to get out of it is for them to come together in the adversity, and figure out a way to put together a successful year, try to make a positive out of it.
No question about it. I'm with you. He should be totally celebrated, not criticized for what a great career he had at UVA. And timing's never great in life and sports sometimes, but it is what it is. We're talking with Jeff Jones, the former point guard at UVA, who took him to a Final Four, also coached UVA to an NIT title, an Elite Eight appearance, also coached at American, Old Dominion, now retired, but he's still involved, and we'll be talking about his new position with Ed and me in just a moment here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on Cove Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe. And also, Ed, we also have to give congrats to Coach Jones, because just about 15, 16 days ago, he was announced to the American University Hall of Fame, joining Ethan Bassett, Daniel Waters, and Alexis Dobbs. So the class of 2025 Pop Castle Hall of Fame at American University. How about that, Ed?
Tremendous. Well-deserved. It's funny, Jeff, I'm up here in Pennsylvania. One of the places I was coached at, Mount Aloysius College, inducted one of my former players last night. And I was telling Matt on the show earlier, I was proud as can be. Sitting there watching him get inducted and reminiscing back to the days. And it was a kid that I coached against in high school too. And we brought him on campus as a college player who went through a whole lot of stuff. And some of it was not good, including some jail time. And to see where he's gone from at that point to where he is now, it brought a tear to my eye. And while I was sitting there listening to him talk, I got a text message from another player on the high school level who was telling me, Coach, I finally did it. I got my college degree. And awesome. A young man that's had some issues. He played at Regent University, had to step away for a while, came back, had to step away again. Just some personal situations he had to take care of. And I kept telling him, VJ, you got to get your degree. You're right there. You got to get it. It can open doors for you down the road. You'll regret it down the road. And when I saw that, he was standing there holding his diploma. And he said, Coach, I got to thank you, because you were my driver in this. Again, I almost had to get out of the room because I'm about to cry like a baby. That's what I miss in coaching. Right now, what I'm going through, I didn't retire. I was told we don't want you back. It's a different feeling. And burning.
I've been there too.
Is strong. Yeah, it's. I retired from teaching, and I don't regret that. And I'm happy with retirement in a way, but not coaching is absolutely killing me, because I want to be. First of all, if I get back into coaching, I won't have to do any teaching, because I always said I would like to see how good I could be if I didn't have to worry about 8 hours a day, knuckleheads in the classroom, parents complaining, administration that doesn't know up from down, and then go out and have to coach some kids. I want to see what I can do. So mine's a little different, because I'm not at the level you guys are, like you and Tony, at that pressurized level. And Jeff, listen to you talk. Boy, I wish we could have take that and tape that and keep that and let people hear it. And you're right. I can't say a whole lot of what I want to say because of time, but you've got knuckleheads that'll read that and blast Tony like crazy. Call him every name in the book. He stole money. They don't know what's in his head. They don't understand his family situation. We as coaches are people, and people think we're robots, and we should be doing what their crazy whims think we should do. And yes, it's bad timing, but it's on him. You can't fault that. That program will be okay. They'll win the games they were supposed to win anyways, whether Tony's there or not. Yes, he's a tremendous coach. I hope he comes back. I kind of get mad when guys like you, Tony, Wright from Villanova, when you guys step away, because you guys do it the right way. Your character is unquestioned. In my book, we got too many yo-yos coaching whose character is questionable, and they keep on coaching. And I did think about the idea of NIL, transfer portal, and how kids now don't even care about playing time anymore. How much money am I getting? And I saw a study here recently. I think it was football, basketball combined, from a couple years ago to beginning of last year. Transfer portal, men's basketball, men's football. 18, 20% of the guys in the portal been in there 3 different times.
Oh, yeah.
and almost 57% of the kids have been in there twice. If that doesn't tell you that system is not working, I don't know what else can tell you. And then about the money, where you're like you said it, you got to deal with agents. You can't really talk to the family and the kids. Well, we got an agent. You got to talk to them about money, and you know how agents are. They don't want to hear about taking care of the kid, make sure he's in class, take care of his men. How much can my client get? Because if you can't pay it, I can go get it over here. That's the kind of stuff that blows my mind. And I kind of think, I know I'm throwing a lot of things out here. The next guy we'll see step away probably at the end of the year, I think, is Tom Izzo, because he's another guy that's into it very passionately with his kids. He's not into talking to agents and worried about money situation. I kind of think he'll be I didn't think Tony would be next. I thought Izzo would be the next one, but
hey, it's funny that you say that, and you brought up enough stuff that if you want to, we'll have to get together again, because
I need that.
Everything that you just said. I mean, I've got stories. In fact, I talked to Tom Izzo Wednesday, and we had something else that we were talking about, but obviously my retirement and getting out of it was a topic of conversation, and he was asking all about it. I'm not saying he's going to retire. He didn't say he was going to retire. There's no scoop here, but he wanted to know what it was like, and whether I missed it. And I miss practices. Practices was my favorite part of coaching. But it was interesting that he was asking about it, and he told me a story that last spring he talked to a kid, and it was a kid that he had known for a while, and knew the family, and the kid was in the transfer portal, so he called him up, and the kid said, Coach, how are you doing? Would you mind? I've got an agent, and everything's going through him, and would you mind calling him? And Tom said, no, I won't call him. So it's like the conversation was over. He had no interest in talking to the agent, and I thought that was great. It's like he had a relationship with the kid, and they weren't doing that. So maybe that's the way it's going to be going forward. But so one story, and Matt, let me know if you want me to just shut up and to answer any questions or anything. But so for the last however many years in the summer, and I think we missed COVID and maybe one other year, but a whole bunch of my former players and assistant coaches and staff members at UVA get together every summer. This year it was a great turnout. We had 50 some odd people, and you got some kids and you got wives, and it's so much fun. I look forward to it every year. Ed, let me ask you this. In 20 years, do you think there's many people going to be doing that? And the answer is no, because the players aren't around long enough for the most part, to develop those relationships. And it is, people can disagree all they want, and that's fine. I won't get mad at them. But I know the fact that fact, not opinion, fact, the relationships are more transactional than they've ever been. That's the same with parents and the kids themselves, between the coaching staff and them. And so I think that's an absolute shame that that feeling of camaraderie, the feeling of family, the bonds that are forged going through good times and bad, that's just not going to happen as strongly or as often. I can't wait, and I appreciate, Matt, you bringing up the American University thing. I've already gotten a bunch. I mean, we're going to have a great party up there. And the Hall of Fame dinner at American will be fun. I'm looking forward to it. But the night before, with all of my former players that have called up and assistant coaches, and you got a comment already. I saw it on the screen here from Lamar Barrett, who's great guy, big fan of the show,
Yes.
And one of my former assistants at American University, and I hope he's going to be there. But those relationships, the older I got, the more that mattered. And anybody that knows me knows that I love to win. And I especially hate to lose. I'm not sure if I love to win more or hate to lose more. Probably hate to lose more than I love to win. But those relationships, they just drive everything. And I just hate it for the future generations that, it's just not going to be the same. The emphasis is different. And again, that's fine. To some people, that's progress, and that's good. I'll respectfully disagree. Maybe I'm just the old guy that's living in the past, and if that's the case, then so be it. But I know how special that is for me to get together with those guys and to meet and see their kids and see how great they're doing in school. See how great the former players are doing in their new professions. That's just a wonderful feeling and a big part, I think, of certainly what I have always viewed coaching as being about. And another thing, Ed, you brought up so many new points or good points. You talked about education and graduation and your guys at the school that you referenced. There's so little conversation, and it's almost like if it does come up, it's just kind of an obligatory, mention about education, and graduation. Yes, because graduation is that's the goal, that's the symbolic, the tangible part of education. But education goes far beyond the classroom. And we don't, we don't talk about that in athletics hardly at all anymore. Certainly, I shouldn't say athletics. In men's basketball and football, you rarely hear that. You might hear some school trying to hold on to stuff and tout a graduation rate or this or that. But I can tell you that in recruiting conversations, in home visits, in official visits, it's like it's glossed over. Education, it's not just about getting the degree. It's about becoming a well-rounded person, being a more worldly, opening your eyes. And I know I can say this. I came to the University of Virginia in 1978 from Owensboro, Kentucky. I had a very, very, very narrow view of the world coming from Owensboro, Kentucky. And I loved growing up there. It's not a criticism of Owensboro, but when I got to Charlottesville, my eyes were open to lots of different things, different races, different religions, different foods, just everything. And it was such a wonderful experience for me. And that all was part of my college education. In addition to being able to receive a degree from UVA. And I hate that, again, transactional, if everybody comes back and gets their degrees, that's great, but it's still different. It's not the same. And again, I think it's unfortunate, and I'm willing to recognize if somebody's going to say, well, quit living in the past. I get it, but there were some things in the past, not everything, but that college education, those relationships that were built, that was pretty special. And I don't mind. I don't apologize for looking back and longing for more of that stuff.
For sure, Ed.
Well, Jeff, again, I'm so glad we got a chance to get you on. That you want to come on, and of course, the Tony Bennett situation spiked a lot of this. And I know we got to move on because of different things coming up in the show, but and again, I'm not worried about my situation. I think the good Lord, if whatever his plan is for me, I'll do it, what has to be done. But I turned down a job recently to take. I had said yes, and then I called back a few days later. One of those that I've heard people do and I've never done. I called back and said, hey, I'm going to step back. And the reason I did it was, as I thought about it, I'd be jumping into a season that's getting ready to start. I don't know these kids. I don't know the parents. I don't know the situation. I don't know how many balls we have on the rack. I don't know anything, who we're playing when. And I said to myself, this is not how I've done it. It's always establishing relationships early. And then that way, when I'm pushing these kids, because I'm a pusher, I'm going to get on you to do your classwork. I'm going to get on you to do the court work. And I'm going to get on you to make sure at home things are going right, because so many things go into a kid being good on a court. People don't understand that. Again, fans don't understand it. They sit up there and yell, like, why don't you run this play? Why don't you do that? The kid's not up to it for a particular reason. We're not going to broadcast that reason. But I found myself stepping back. As much desire as I want to get into it, bad. I stopped somewhere on my way up here. 3 kids. I saw 3 different areas where kids were playing out in the court. I pulled a car over and started coaching kids, and they were like 3rd, 4th grade, looking at me like, "Who is this yo-yo trying to tell us what we're doing? We're just shooting." I'm trying to coach the kids up on my way to Pennsylvania. I just felt that I've got to establish a relationship with his kids. I just can't take any old situation because it satisfies me. I can't do that. And that's why when I hear you talk about Tony and maybe what Tony went through, I feel that. I feel that strongly, because we've been through it and we understand when we're with those kids a lot. You just said it goes far more than the classroom and then even on the court for things to get done right. And if you're a person with character who does it the right way, those things bother you to a point where I could see, Tony, I'm done. I know it's a couple days before we get started, but I'm done. I want to go on the French Riviera and spend money. No, I can't give 100% of myself to these kids, to this program, to UVA. You've said it, Jeff. You said it yourself. There were times you had to think, end of the year, if I made a decision right now, I'd be done. You have to let that go. And I do know the NCAA needs to make changes. And what I propose is stop all this crazy blank recruiting crap. Let's make it all like Division III. Now you ain't got the pressure running out on the road, missing birthdays, holidays, whatever. Make it like Division III. Make the kids recruit to school instead of coaches have to go out on the road and recruit kids. Then let's see who can do what. Now, probably the gangster coaches are still going to find ways, but the money's out there to a degree, because it ain't the same. The money Old Dominion has NIL compared to Kentucky and all that. We already know. Completely different basis. So, but I don't want to ramble on it either way. I do want to get into the thing with you, Jeff. You're kind of new duties now. If I'm not mistaken, you're kind of back at Old Dominion, and you're a mentor of the coaches. I don't know what the official title is, but when I talked to you briefly about it before, I said to myself, now this is a position that needs to be everywhere across the country, including high school, where you get a veteran guy who's able to go out and talk to the coaches, see what's going on. They can use him as a resource. And it's not all about X and O's. In fact, it might be more other than X and O's. But I don't want to talk wrongly. You tell us what's going on with Jeff and your position.
Well, this is something that's kind of really cool. And Wood Sealy brought it up to me back at the beginning of the summer or sometime in the spring and said, think about this. I'm thinking, it'd be great to have you around and, have you mentor the other coaches. And I thought about it, and and number one, there is no title. I don't I have no idea what my title.
Well, we're going to give you one. You're a mentor of coaches.
Okay, but I like thinking I'm more of a sounding board for the coaches at ODU than a mentor. I'm not. I'm certainly willing to have conversations, and if they ask me questions, but I'm not real keen on just throwing out unsolicited advice. But I want to be there for them, and coaches, particularly now, as we talked about, have a unique set of circumstances that they have to deal with, and if I can give a different perspective, or if I can just be there and just listen. Sometimes coaches just need a place to vent, and they try not to bring it home. They don't want to vent to their significant other. The assistant coaches, there might be things that the coach might want to vent about the assistant coaches. So I'm hopefully a safe space that that they can come to, and we can talk about pretty much whatever. There's a big push, and I'm so happy that it is about the mental health of student athletes. I'm really concerned with all the added pressures these days on coaches that the mental health part of it, to give them something, where they can, where they can just kind of have somebody to go and talk to. And like, as you said, it's not about X's and O's. I mean, shoot, I couldn't tell you the first thing about X's and O's with soccer or field hockey or lacrosse, some of the sports, volleyball, that I've been talking with the coaches. But having breakfast, having lunch, I've had a chance to go out and see a bunch of teams practice, and I'm going to try to go out in the next couple weeks with our sailing team, which will be interesting to get out on the water and watch them practice. Getting by and seeing games, trying to set up some programming for coaches. We've had one speaker come in already and talk to the coaches about being advocates for themselves, ways to interview and to build their brand, and have some financial planning, for coaches, and particularly assistant coaches, because they don't have any money. And so financial planners usually, they want to talk to the people that have money that can, do stuff with them right now. But there are things for young coaches that, assistant coaches that haven't, made real money yet. But smart decisions that they can make that in 30 or 40 years, that, will pay dividends for them, literally will pay dividends for them. I've got a group of military veterans coming to talk to the coaches about leadership. So, just anything that I can do and put in place and try to replicate, so that we can do this year after year, that it's not just a one-time thing, that can help these coaches professionally, but personally as well, and maybe help them to get more satisfaction out of their job.
That's awesome. Well, it's a little bit like the role that Terry Francona had this past year in Cleveland with baseball. I know they're playing Edge Yankees right now, but he was the special advisor to baseball operations, or kind of like a special advisor to ODU athletics. And good to see you'll still be around campus and helping out with Old Dominion sports and mentoring these coaches, young and old, as they move into the 2024-2025 school year, which is already underway for athletics. And congrats again to you on the American University Hall of Fame. Well-deserved.
Thank you
so much for coming on the program. All the best, and I'm sure we'll see you around the hardwood or somewhere down the road.
Absolutely. If you come to ODU events, I'm probably going to be there.
Well, I'll be calling the games again, women's basketball, so you'll see me around, and I'm sure we'll get Ed to come into the gym because he's got some time on his hands, and there's never a buddy or a pal or a guy he doesn't like that he wants to just yak to, so he'll be around.
Well, I'm sure Mike Jones would welcome him in there, and watch him practice. So
I'm making my rounds. I'm writing a schedule on it as we speak. High school level 2, I'm going to get out and see some of my former coaches, assistant coaches, and just guys that I think do a great job. I got to pick up some stuff, because if I'm back on the sideline next year and I plan it, I got to do some new things. As Hatfield tells me, you can't be a dinosaur in the past. You're going to get left behind. So I'm going to go out and do what I got to do. And in closing, Jeff, let's help Matt understand this, because I think you are. And if you're not, just play with me.
Oh, no.
You're a big Yankee fan like I am.
No, don't
Matt
tell
is
me you are, Coach.
living in the
Please,
past.
no.
He backs 2004. Let
2001,
him understand.
2001, get it right.
He's mad because the Yankees have bought, traded, and sold players. It's professional. So he'll listen to you, because he'll never listen to me, but he'll listen to you. Let him know the Yankees are going to win it all.
Well, my good buddy, former assistant coach Dennis Wolf, has always been a huge Yankees fan, and he's from Queens, which is Mets territory. But Dennis is a Yankees guy, and so for Dennis's sake, I've always kind of supported. I'm a Nationals fan, which is hard to say given their last 5 years, but
2019, we'll never take 2019 from you guys. That was special. But
the Yankees, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a Yankees Dodgers. I mean, I'd be right there with the networks. I mean, the networks have to be, dying to have that happen. But my Nationals fandom Juan Soto is obviously a great player, but he just was such a good person and ambassador and all that. So I'd like to see him do really well. But Matt, I do have to say, I mean, the Yankees do buy players, but you don't think that the Dodgers? I mean, nobody has a bigger payroll than the Dodgers.
Jeff,
and the Mets.
That's the thing. That's why I'm rooting for Cleveland now, since my guys got knocked out. I'm so tired of all these, powerhouses. It's a little bit like, we can spend a lot more time on this in the future. College basketball, your Kentuckys, your Dukes, your UNCs. But the Dodgers, I loathe as much as the Yankees. So if we have that World Series, I just won't watch. I'll be so miserable. I'll be miserable. And I love watching October baseball. There's nothing like it. I know basketball's special in March, but it's.
Hey, you mentioned the college basketball at the top. Nobody has more NIL money than the SEC teams, and in particular Alabama. Alabama, they're picked preseason number 1, I think, by some polls. They're throwing around some serious money down there now. I mean, look, we can like it or not, but the sports world revolves around green, fellas.
It does. It is. But the answer to all your questions is money. It makes the world go around. Well, hey, always a pleasure, Coach. All the best to you, and I'm sure we'll chat with you very soon.
All right. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, Jeff.
It's Jeff Jones, our guest here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. And he's absolutely right. I did get a chance to pinch hit for Ted Alexander on a couple men's games last year, Arkansas and Ball State, and he loves the Yankees just like you do, Ed, does Dennis Wolf. We'll come back with our NBA over-unders, our NFL picks, and put the ribbons on today's show on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But right now, let's hear from some of the sponsors that make it possible for us, including one